The shirt that I'm wearing today is going to give you a little clue as to who my guest is. He's somebody that has delighted me and whom I've admired for almost the last 10 years since I've actually had the privilege of being a guest chef and speaker at this fabulous place, heaven on earth, Rancho La Puerta. He's actually the director of guest relations and programming. And I think you're really going to like him. He's really funny and he's just awesome. And his name is Barry Shingle. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this today, Barry.
Hello, AJ. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, the reason I had the idea to do this is because you're actually doing something very similar to what I'm doing at Rancho La Puerta.
I am, since we closed mid-March because of the pandemic, as lots of places have. I have started doing a Zoom chat show, and I start with once a week with our founder Deborah, who's just turned 98. Because at the resort, every Tuesday night, her and I do an hour interview together in front of the guests and questions and answers. And so we decided to continue that. So her and I have been doing that every Thursday, and I had a great response. And so then I started to add my own on Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays it's Chats with Barry, and on Thursdays it's Voices of the Ranch with Barry and Deborah. And we always have a guest on with us that we chat with. So it's been really fun, and it lets the guests stay connected to the ranch.
And I think it's a fabulous idea, Barry, especially because I'm sure there's going to be people watching today that have not heard of Rancho La Puerta, which I would love for you to tell them what it is. But I know, like, when I was a first timer, you see these wonderful instructors, but you don't really know who they are. If that was a resource, we could actually go online before coming to the ranch and say, I really want to take that person's class.
Right. So one of the things that doing this has made me realize is that guests really do want to stay connected to the ranch, and they're very excited about what's going on at the ranch. So hopefully when we reopen, which we're hoping it'll be in July, I'll continue to do this at least once a week. And we might even do one class live a week from the ranch. So guests that aren't at the ranch can be connected to the ranch. And we have the most amazing presenters that come to the ranch. So guests could benefit from those presenters, even though they're not actually at the ranch.
Yeah, I think it's a fabulous idea. So what is Rancho La Puerta? Where is it? And what have you got to do with it?
Okay, so Rancho La Puerta it's considered the original destination spa pretty much in the world. Our co-founders, Deborah Zeke and her husband, Edmund Zeke, founded the ranch in 1940. In fact, mid-June will be our 80th anniversary. So we've been around 80 years. So we're kind of considered the first, our owner, Deborah Zeke, who's now 98, that I interview every Thursday. She is considered the grandmother of the spa industry. So they started the ranch in 1940 because her husband was asked to go back to his country of origin, but he would have had to he was a Jewish man who would have had to fight for Hitler, and they didn't think that was probably the best idea. So they fled to Mexico because the US said they would send him back to his country of origin if he was in the United States after June 1st, 1940. So they moved to Mexico, and he was kind of a philosopher kind of person, kind of ahead of his time about health and wellness and living with nature. And he had summer schools. He was accustomed to having summer schools. So they sent an email they didn't have email back then, but they sent a newsletter to all the people that were signed up and said, we're still going to have our summer school. It's just going to be in Mexico now. And people came. And so it started as kind of a school. And people would come to listen to the professor lecture. And then Deborah was his young wife. She was 17 when she moved to the ranch and married the professor. And so she had to find something to get people to do when they weren't listening to him lecture. He would lecture for like 2 hours a day at 4 p.m. But then what was she going to do with the people the rest of the time? And so she said, at first, which was kind of exciting, people could come. It was $17.50 for a week. $17.
Oh my God. One movie for one person costs more than that.
I know, but you had to bring your own tent. And she said, but with that, for $17.50, you had to work 4 hours a day for Deborah. And so she would have them cooking and gardening and doing things like that. But if you wanted to pay $35 a week, you didn't have to work. But she said that everyone chose to to do the 1750 and to work. And so she started, they started an organic garden the day they arrived. And so people worked in the garden. It was kind of like people used to call it a commune, but it was kind of a little bit like that. And the second year she bought airplane wing covers and made her own tents. And then the third year she bought surplus horse carts from their horse boxes that they were supposed to they were going to have horses stand, but they were too small for horses. So at the station in San Diego, the Army station, she bought those and turned them into little houses so people could stay year round. So she kind of really evolved because people kept coming and she had to find things for them to do. And she said, we had the mountain and we had the river. So everyone would get up and hike in the morning before breakfast, which is what they still do, hike on the mountain, right? And then instead of working in the garden, now we have them do fitness classes in the morning and afternoon. We still have a evening program and a presenters program. So we have an educational component as well. And of course, we've added 3 spas. So we have every treatment you can imagine, and we have holistic health treatments. So it's kind of evolved into what it is. Yeah.
You know, she really is one of the original entrepreneurs.
No, she really is. And I'm so fortunate that I've gotten to really get to know her in the last 10 years, and we spend a lot of time together, and she's the real deal. She cares about her guests and their health, and her number one goal, it's not money, it's making a difference in people's lives. And I think that's what comes across. It's amazing, you know, that I think people feel it too.
I'm really going to encourage people to go to the Rancho La Puerta website and just look at some of the interviews you've done with Deborah, because she really is one of the most extraordinary human beings. And, you know, so many people, by the time they're her age, well, first of all, they're not even alive, but they're so debilitated. And she just shows that health is a result of healthful living. And she has been living a healthy lifestyle her entire life.
Yeah. She always tells us, she's like, I never planned to live to have a long life. She goes, but I woke up and here I am 98. She goes, and I guess I will celebrate my 100th birthday. I'm looking forward to it now. So, and I think for her, there's a couple secrets to her longevity is, besides, she said, everyone knows what you should be doing. It's just, you have to do it. And that's eating healthy, right? And exercising, moving. She says, movement is life. When you stop moving, you stop living. So move every day, eat healthy, which she eats mostly a plant-based diet. She'll eat fish occasionally. But the other thing is, she's a Pollyanna. So she's a very positive thinker. She doesn't dwell on the past. She's in the present moment. If you ask her about the past, she doesn't want to talk about the past, because the past is the past. She wants to talk about what's going on right now, what's in the future. So
Colleen is saying, is she in good health at 98? I haven't seen her for about 6 months, but last time I saw her, she was in stellar health.
Yeah, I mean, she's in good health. I mean, she has had, like, this past year, she had a heart valve replaced because it was just kind of going out on her. And she did fall and she broke a hip a year ago and she had to get a little metal plate in. But I mean, for her age, like, she tells me, she goes, well, the doctor told me, you know, I could use a walker, I could fall again. So she said, I guess I'll use a walker. But it's funny, when we're at the ranch together, she prefers taking my hand because she doesn't want people to see her using a walker. So, and she still has a personal trainer that comes to the house 5 days a week. And so she walks, and they do a modified version of Pilates. So she's remarkable. Her mind is so sharp. That's what I was going to say.
The most extraordinary thing about her is she is sharp. She is so sharp.
Yeah, she really is on it. And it's because she's still really involved in lots of different things. And she still cares about what's going on in the world. She's part of several nonprofits. She helped put together a immigration museum in San Diego, which celebrates immigrants and what their contribution to our country and what they brought to us. And she just helped fundraise for a new public library. So she's still super involved.
Yeah. And what I love about her, the last time I went to her talk, which was I was there in January of this year, is just like everyone else. It's not like she had a completely stress-free life without trauma, but like you say, she goes forward. She doesn't let it define her. And even as sad as some of the things that have happened to her, she said the people that she's lost, and she's lost quite a few, they don't want her to be sitting around sad today.
Yeah, she lost her son to cancer, and she lost her granddaughter at 17 in a car accident. she still lights a candle for her granddaughter every night, but says that she believes that their spirits can't go on to their next adventure if we're hanging on to them and grieving. And she feels that they would want her to go on and to live a happy life. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she's pretty remarkable in that way too. It's a lesson I've learned a lot from her.
Has she written a book, or will she write a book? Because I know she has a lot of wisdom.
In a book, they're working on kind of a memoir of the ranch. It's more like a photo journalistic view of the ranch over the last 80 years. We're recording. I've been doing her interviews for 6 years now. And so we record all of those. And I have my master's in journalism. I joke with her all the time. I said, the minute you're gone, I'm gonna write you. She said, that's good. Make me seem really fun. I'm like, that'll be easy. That'll be easy.
Well, she is. Now, people are asking where Rancho La Puerta is, and they're also asking, is it a place for just sick folks? Do you teach them how to eat well? I don't think I've met anybody there that was sick.
No, so that's a good question. The ranch is, we're about 3 miles outside of Tecate, Mexico. So we're 3 miles across the US border. But so most of our guests will fly into San Diego, and then it's about an hour trip east. And then we cross the border. We're in the mountains, and we have 4,000 acres there. So, and we're in the mountains. So we have 80 some guest casitas, and all of them are different. And it's a really easy cross the border. It doesn't hardly feel like you're in Mexico because we're just so close to the border. But yeah, it's easy to get there, and it's not too far. And we're a place for healthy people to get healthier. So we have once you get to the ranch, we have, there's no cars, there's no golf carts. You have to be able to walk an average of 2 to 3 miles a day just to get to and from classes, your casita, and the meals. So it's a place for people that are, looking for wellness and health, but healthy enough to get around.
Absolutely. It's, like as a kid, I remember as a kid, my favorite place was Disneyland. And as an adult, I still like it, but not as much because, neck hurts, things like that. I had heard about Rancho La Puerta I don't know if I ever told you this, Barry, but I first heard about it in 1992. And I don't know if that was before the internet, but I certainly didn't have email at the time. And the funny thing is I heard about it from the guy that fixed my car, the body shop guy. Now, this was a guy that had a liver transplant because he was a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker. He was nowhere near vegan or vegetarian. And he said this was the greatest vacation he ever went on. And I'm thinking, if this guy Clem, who, smokes and drinks and eats at McDonald's, thinks that this place is great, then I've got to check it out. And I remember back then you actually sent people information. I don't think there was internet. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God, and it was like a dream. And then when I finally got, booked to speak there, if everybody needs to put it, I know not everybody can go every year, but it has to be, I believe, on everybody's bucket list. You know what I mean? At least once. And it's magical. It really is an understatement. And I remember the first time I came, and you're always a little nervous the first time, and, you're meeting people. And on the Friday night dinner, they always say, how many people have been here? This is the first time. And you get a couple hands, and then you get 2, 3. I mean, people raise their hand. How many of you, this is your 50th time? And it's like half the room raises their hand. But what I want to say is one of the things when you get your little thing, and there's so many activities. I mean, if you wanted to, you could be busy from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every night, or you could do nothing. It's up to you.
Right.
But one thing everybody says, whether they're staff, whether they're docent, whether they're a guest, is if this is your first time, or even if it's not, there's one activity on one night that you can't miss. And it's called Bingo with Barry. How did that come about? And why do you think it's so darn popular?
It's so funny. It's a good question. Like Bingo with Barry, like it has a life of its own, I guess. But when I started, I've been at the ranch now for a little over 20 years. And when I started at the ranch, I started as a fitness instructor. And one of the things that you did is kind of initiation is they would have bingo once a week, and you had to host bingo if you were new. And so at first I went and I would just call the numbers, but I have a very sarcastic, humorous side to me. I mean, I love humor. I think it's super important. And so I started to add little bits of my personality and little bits of jokes and humor in there. And it's now evolved to, it's more like Barry's stand-up act with bingo thrown in as an aside. And I can, you know, I know how to push the edge a little bit. Sometimes, you know, I'll say something a little just slightly off color, and you see a lot of the little old ladies like laughing and thinking, wow, can I laugh at that? And so it's come, you know, people email in advance. They email me jokes. They email me, hey, I have a friend who's going to be there. Here's something, an aside to know about her that you can use in your bingo act. So, I mean, it's like it literally has a life of its own. And I think that I think laughter is so important and humor is so important. And I mean, if you do it in the right way, if you can laugh at yourself and you do it out of loving kindness, people love it. I had to do, it's so interesting. I did bingo on 9/11. I mean, it was the day that, you know, a lot of our guests were from New York, and they couldn't leave the ranch, and they were stressed, so they didn't know. But everyone came to bingo, and everyone wanted to have the opportunity to laugh and not just forget for a second what was going on. So I think that people, and also, I mean, when people come to the ranch, they're on vacation. People want to have a good time, and I try to do bingo a little later in the week so that everyone kind of knows each other, has gotten to know each other. So it's kind of a bonding thing. It's like there's this one time there was a group of women, they come every year together in January. And so they emailed me in advance, and they said they were all going to pull out their old prom dresses. And these are women in their like 60s. And they were going to wear their prom dresses to bingo. And I was to like judge them, pick out the prom queen. And I mean, some of them most of them had to alter their little prom outfits, but it was hysterical. It's just fun. People just want to have a nice time.
It really is. And what cracks me up is you give prizes, and I take my bingo seriously, because I actually love the prizes you give, because they're the Mexican kind of artistic ceramic things that you don't actually really sell them in your gift shop, but you'd have to go into like Tijuana to get them. And you see these very wealthy women. I mean, they have like $10,000 worth of jewelry on, and they're vying for these like little prizes as if they were Tiffany diamonds.
Right. It's funny because they've our artist, we have a resident artist. Her name's Jennifer, but she teaches amazing classes. But one of the things she does is every year she comes out with a bingo T-shirt. It's a cartoon character of me doing something, right? And so people collect them, and it's just so funny because one of my friends found one on eBay. It was just so funny. But I was, you know, I came around. I was in San Diego at Whole Foods a couple of years ago, and I came around the corner, and there's some 15-year-old girl wearing a Barry bingo T-shirt. So it's funny because, you know, people just like, it helps. They save their shirts and they bring them year after year, and they wear them to bingo. It's funny.
That's hilarious. Sherry asks, are you being impacted by COVID-19 and having guests? You've been closed, I believe, since March.
Yeah, we closed our doors March 18th, and of course I mean, the whole world is impacted by COVID-19. And I don't, you know, for us, the challenge for us too is that we're across the border. We are in Mexico. So right now the Mexican border is closed for non-essential travel. So our guests would be non-essential travel. So until the border reopens, we won't be able to reopen. So that's definitely impacting us. And then Mexico has certain rules that the US doesn't have. For example, if you come to Mexico, at the border, they take your temperature, where in the United States, you can't force someone to take their temperature. You know, there's just different things. So we're navigating all that kind of thing. The other thing is, you know, we have an array of guests, but I would say the bulk of our guests are 50 plus. So some of them are in the category, they're at higher risk just because of their age. So we definitely are affected in that way. I mean, everyone. I mean, it's interesting to see. I'm in touch with a lot of people that have resorts that are starting to reopen their resorts, and even fitness centers. And how do you do that in a way that you decrease as much risk as possible for people?
Right. That's you know, I just hope that if they forced you to take your temperature, it is an oral thermometer.
It is, but it's on your forehead. They did it.
Good, because I know there's a couple of other places on the body they can do it. And I am not going to submit to that. I'm sorry.
No.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a question. I don't know who. Monica says, "What is an average stay at Rancho La Puerta, and what are the costs?"
So the average, our guests, I want to say this last year, 92% of our guests stayed 7 days. So it's a 7 day stay. Saturday is our transition day. So people fly in on Saturday to the San Diego airport, or they could drive to San Diego. And we have buses that pick up people and bring them to the ranch. And so on Saturday, we take the new guests to the ranch, and we bring the former guests to the airport. So that's our big transition day. So Saturday to Saturday. Now, we do offer, if we're not full, we offer partial stays. So you could stay Saturday to Wednesday or Wednesday to Saturday. So partial stays. The average cost, it depends on what casita you get, how many people are sharing your casita. We have our cost is an all-inclusive, so it includes all your meals, all your classes, all your programs. The only thing that people pay additional for would be their spa treatments. So, and I want to say that I don't even know. I'm going to guess that the average cost is between $3,000 and $3,500 a week. It's probably about
that's really not, I mean, for what you get, it really is a bargain. I don't think until people realize how much there is to do there, or again, if they don't want to do anything, do nothing. But you meet such interesting people, not just celebrities, which you can meet, but interesting people, because especially if you do a shared table, and you have the option, if you're by yourself or with a guest, to eat all your meals, in your room or by yourself. If like, I actually wrote my book at Rancho. I mean, I don't think I would have a book if it wasn't for the time there and the peace there. But the people there, like, I'm sure you've met so many interesting people. Like, do you have a favorite story or just?
I've met the most amazing people. And what's great is at the ranch, like, everything is kind of on the same playing field. Like, I'll have been visiting with someone all week and joking around with them. And on Friday, they'll hand me their business cards, stay in touch, and they'll be the vice president of Google. And they flew there on their own plane, so you don't even, people are just, everyone's equal there. And I've met the most amazing, wonderful people, from celebrities to government people. It's been great. I've been very fortunate.
You almost could write a book about your experiences there.
I could write a book. Someone asked me one time if I would write a sitcom and call it Spa. But I'm like, only after I no longer work there, probably. Yeah.
Monica says, what are some of the fitness classes offered at Rancho La Puerta? What is popular? And hello to Manuel Velasquez, my SCW yoga certified instructor.
Oh, Manuel. Yes. Manuel is one of our instructors, and he's from Puerto Rico. And I was just at the ranch yesterday visiting with him, and he's teaching from one of the gyms there. He's turned it into a big Zoom studio, and he's doing a international fitness conference this weekend from the ranch on his Zoom. So it's amazing. We offer 50 to 60 classes a week. So we start with hikes every morning. There's anything from a 2-mile lowland flat walk to a 7-mile mountain hike. So we offer up to 4 hikes every morning before breakfast. And I would say probably 90% of our guests will get up and do a hike or a walk before breakfast. And then we have classes 9, 10, 11. We have lectures, nutrition lectures like at 1. And then we have afternoon presenters. We have classes at 2, 3, 4. And we always have, at 8 o'clock at night, we always have an evening presenter who does something, whether it be, we always have music every week. We have a grand piano. We just had a jazz week, and we had a classical music week we had right before we closed. So we have a variety of different things. And if you get online and look at our website, you can see who's featured every week as far as the presenters and the entertainment goes.
Yeah. So Monica said, could you move the camera to show it around a little bit? She didn't realize you're not at the ranch.
I'm not there. There's my cat walking in the back, though. That's Frida. It looks like I'm at the ranch, but this is my backyard in San Diego. And I've kind of created the ranch atmosphere in my backyard. There's a little fire pit, and I have a koi pond and a little water fountain. This is my hot tub right here next to me. So. Oh,
that's great. Nancy says, do you upcharge if you're single?
We don't upcharge. You could choose to room with someone, and we have different size rooms. Like we have what would be more like a casita or like a studio that would be cheaper for one person. And then we have 2-bedroom, 2-bath that sleep 4 people. So it just depends what accommodation you pick.
Angela says, are you still teaching fitness classes?
I teach. It's not part of my job anymore, but I enjoy it. I try to lead at least 2 hikes every week because I can hike before my day gets going, and because the hikes start at 6:15 in the morning, and I'm back in time for breakfast. And I've been teaching. I've taught almost everything at the ranch, so I'll jump in and sub if someone calls in sick. I do teach. I've started teaching yoga in the last couple of years, so I teach yoga probably once or twice a week at the ranch. And then I'm involved in, all the other aspects of the administrative things of running the ranch. But mostly my favorite part of my job is I get to be with the guests. So I know that one thing that you mentioned is how many guests comes frequently. And so one of the things I do is on Wednesday nights, I host a dinner. It's kind of like a captain's table for all the guests that have been to the ranch 20 or more times. And it's always a rewarding dinner to find out. Our guests are very well-traveled people, but I would say at least 90% of them say that the ranch is their favorite place on the planet that they go to. So it always makes me feel very warm and grateful that I work there.
It's funny because I've been to other spas as a speaker, and I often get to speak on cruise ships, but there really is nothing like Rancho. It's like, if that could be the only job, that would be the one I think I would want, because there's really nothing like it. And, I'll never forget, I think the funniest thing I ever saw there, and this was during Bingo with Barry, the week I was there, Debbie Boone and the Boone sisters, they were the guest. And you came out dressed like an angel with a blonde wig, and you sang "You Light Up My Life" to Debbie Boone. I have never seen anything that hilarious in my life. Did somehow that get recorded?
Oh, it was recorded. I mean, I loved it. Debbie put it on her Facebook page. So yeah, whatever you can do. Like we had a monk from Thich Nhat Hanh's place here in San Diego, and he was taught meditation for the entire week. So at bingo he came to bingo dressed like a monk. So I did bingo dressed like a monk that night too. And I created my own little bingo meditation for everyone. So yeah.
Wow. I would have loved. Who's like the most famous person you've ever had there? Like as a presenter? I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody that was there as a guest and wanted anonymity.
I would say my favorite guest was Madeleine Albright.
Wow.
She came right after she left office, and there were 12 Secret Service people at the ranch at all times. So if you would go into class, they would be checking in your bag or whatever. But she was the most amazing person. She was just there as a guest to recover from her years of being Secretary of State. But all the guests, of course, loved her, and they were like, well, can you ask her if she'll do a talk? And I'm like, well, I didn't want to bump anyone else, so I asked her to do bingo, do the night of bingo. Instead of doing bingo, I replaced it with a talk by Madeleine Albright. And some of the guests were like, we want bingo still. So Madeleine, she started her talk by saying, B10 and I'm not Barry, and it was hysterical. So
that sounds great. Let's see. There's a couple of nice comments I want to read. Cindy says, I was there years ago and have the cookbook. It was an amazing experience. Angela says, thank you for introducing us to Barry. He's super wonderful. The thing that's so cool about the fitness classes is there really is something for everybody. So if somebody is just an avid tennis player, they can have, tennis classes. I don't think there's any kind of fitness that you don't offer there.
I think that we pretty much hit everything that's out there for sure. I would still say that it's interesting that I've seen the shift since I've been there, that people are very much more into the reflective types of things. Everyone is looking for peace and tranquility, and at this time for sure. So I noticed that I have doubled the number of meditation classes that we have at the ranch. We have some sort of meditation every morning at 9, and then every afternoon at 4. And I think that probably our most popular class is our sound healing class.
That's my favorite class.
Pickleball sound healing class. So there are lots of ways, and there's a lot of research that shows that just being in nature and the beauty of nature is a very reflective thing for people, and it's calming and soothing. And we have 4,000 acres of that. So you can get lost. I mean, the only time you ever notice that there are other people at the ranch is usually in the dining room because that's when everyone comes together to eat. But it's so spread out, and all the casitas are private and different that you can go for quite a while. If you choose to be alone, you definitely can be alone.
When you say you can get lost, you literally could get lost, because it took me about 10 or 12 times there till I stopped getting lost, like going from one place to another, because it's a big place.
And and all of our trails are meandering. There's no direct way anywhere, and that's done on purpose so that people have the chance to spend some time and reflect. And the landscaping is phenomenal. So it's a beautiful place. I feel very fortunate. And I find it's interesting because every time guests come, even if they've been there 20 times, every time they have a different experience. And I think because we're all at different phases in our lives, and it's interesting, and no matter what people are looking for, they seem to find it there in one shape or form. And every visit can be completely different because the presenters are different. And sometimes we always are changing up the classes and things. And yet the feeling is the same, which is, I think, one of my favorite quotes ever is a Maya Angelou quote. And that's, I probably won't say it exactly right. I'm sure you've heard it before, AJ, but it's, people will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget the way you make them feel. And I think of the ranch as its own person. And I think that the way the ranch makes people feel is what keeps them coming back on a regular basis.
Yeah. My husband can't understand why I just keep wanting to go, because, he's never really been there. And I think once you're there, it really is the true antidote to stress. A week at Rancho, I think, will take care of anybody's stress.
Deborah, the co-founder, she always says, it takes a week for a miracle. And that's why she's always encouraged people to stay a week. And it's true. When you see people getting off the bus as they arrive on Saturday, it's a different person getting on the bus the following Saturday. You can just feel about the second or third day, everything just kind of, people just start to let go. And it's funny because I have a friend who I invited to come to the ranch, and he didn't realize that there was not going to be internet in his room or TV. And he didn't realize his cell phone wasn't going to work, because at that time, a lot of cell phones didn't work at the ranch. This was probably 8 years ago. And the first 2 days, he was completely stressed out. But on the third day, he just realized, he just let it all go. And he just focused on himself and being in the moment. And he had the best week of his entire life, because he wasn't focused on, we're all so distracted. Our lives are so distracting. And I think it's one of the amazing things about this pause that we're having right now. I mean, it's probably a silver lining in this whole pandemic thing, is that we're slowing down, and maybe we're focusing more on some of the things that we're finding out what's really important to us.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is the ranch. You mentioned the spa treatments are unparalleled. And I say that because I literally have had massages all over the world, all different kinds of spas, medical offices, and the masseuses there, especially two of them, one who I believe just retired, Jacinto, and one named Mike. I mean, I've never been massaged like those guys.
Yeah. I think people have a gift for healing and touch. So if you find the right people, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I couldn't ever say that I've had a bad massage, because if someone else is rubbing me in and devoting that attention to me, I am always appreciative.
I also love that you have art classes, like you had mentioned, Jennifer. I've taken painting there. I've taken the jewelry class. I love the jewelry class.
Yeah, we have an artist, and we also feature guest artists. So, we have a watercolor class, we have a landscape sketching class, we have jewelry making classes, we have a sculpture class where people actually create amazing sculptures, and then they take them home with themselves. They can get them bronzed and take them home with themselves. And people don't realize the talent that they have. And we've had Jennifer I went to visit Jennifer a couple of weeks ago, and she was showing me the artwork of a woman who had never drawn before, who came to the art class there. And now she quit her job and she's doing art full time, and she's got stuff in museums. It's just, it's amazing what people are capable of that we don't know until we slow down and try.
Yeah. So Jennifer says, I hope you get to play virtual bingo with Barry. And as a matter of fact, right before he joined, I suggested that to him because it's so much fun. Someone asked a question if there's a pool. I believe you have at least 3 pools plus a Watsu pool, right?
Exactly. We have 3 swimming pools and a Watsu pool. We have the activity pool, which is a junior Olympic size pool, and we have all of our water fitness types of classes in there. And then we have a pool out in the villas area, which is just a recreational pool. We have the south pool, which is we've turned it into a Watsu pool, so it's kept at body temperature. And we have Upper Watsu, which is a water massage modality. And then we have the central pool, which used to be our main pool before I built our other one. So it's a nice size pool. You can swim laps in it. And I've started a class last year called BOGO Fit, which is like it's kind of like doing a workout on a surfboard, and we do that in that class.
Yeah, those are really fun. And that's how I started playing pickleball, and spinning was all because of taking a class at the ranch.
Yeah, I mean, pickleball has just really taken off. When someone suggested to me, I was like, I'd never even heard of it. So we turned 2 of the tennis courts into pickleball courts, and it got so popular that this last year I've put in 6 pickleball courts, and it's probably one of the most it's the fastest growing sport, I think, team sport in the US right now.
It really is fun. And the guys that teach it, they love to play it as much as they do to teach it. You get the most extraordinary fitness people really for every modality. How do they find you, or do you go looking for them? Because they're really extraordinary.
It's interesting. I think the ranch, I don't know, I find the ranch to be this magical place because we attract the most amazing guests and the most amazing instructors and presenters. I think it's a synergy of how all the energy comes together, but everyone who's there, they're all like-minded and think the same and are looking for the same things. So, I mean, to answer your question about the fitness instructors, it's a little bit of both. I would say there's at least 5 instructors a week that email me who want to come and be a guest instructor or be a seasonal instructor, be a full-time instructor. So I do have a lot to select from. So finding the right fit is, I go by my gut. I go by, not just appearance. So yeah.
Joy wants to know, how many guests does Rancho La Puerta hold?
So that's a good question. It depends on how much we have maximized the rooms. For example, there's the villas that hold 4 guests. It's 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So, but sometimes someone will rent that room all by themselves. So there'll be only one person. So it's a matter, if you filled up every pillow at the ranch, I think we'd be full at 164 guests, but we can be full at 135 guests depending on who's sharing, who's not sharing, and that kind of thing. So our average week runs 120 to 140 guests in a week.
Great. Rachel says, I would love to go to RLP. It sounds so perfect, and it is. So as a guest presenter, I will go any week that I'm offered. But for somebody that's never been there, how does somebody determine maybe the best week for them? Is it just based on their schedule, based on the presenters, based on weather? There's no bad time at Rancho, but if for a first timer, when would be a good time to go?
That's an interesting question too. I mean, if you're flexible, most people pick the time. We have a huge group of guests that pick the same time next year. So a lot of guests will repeat their week, and they get to know guests during that week. But if you're very flexible, you can look at our events calendar on our website, and you can see who the presenters are and who the specialty people are on any given week. So for example, every week I feature some sort of fitness modality. So 6 weeks a year, it's a yoga specialty week. Like once we had Baron Baptiste and, Shiva Ray. So if you're really into yoga, you'd want to pick one of those weeks where if there's a particular yoga instructor, but we have Pilates weeks, we have gyrotonic weeks, we have strength weeks. So we have all different pickleball weeks. So it depends on what you're really interested in. And then there's the whole presenters section, right? Like I know you've come, AJ, as a guest chef. And so if you follow a guest chef and want to take cooking classes with that person, you would want to pick their week. Or we have presenters, certain musicians that are phenomenal that maybe you wanted to come. If you like classical music, we might be featuring a classical music concert on a couple of times during a week. So it depends what you're looking for. Overall, the ranch experience is going to be the ranch experience for you. You're going to find whatever you want. But if you want to really, most guests will come based on the time of year that works best for them and their friends or whoever they're going to be there with. And then they try whatever we have offered that week. And it's usually always a positive experience.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Talk about a small world. January of this year, I was attending a lecture at the local library, Rancho Mirage, with Dr. Michael Greger, who was the guest on yesterday's show. And a gentleman comes up to me, and his name was Roger Belair. He's a pickleball teacher at Rancho La Puerta. He had taken my cooking classes, and he literally just moved into my neighborhood. I mean, that was just the most random thing ever, that, you run into people that,
Right?
isn't that cool? That was so cool to
Yeah,
meet
I like
him.
him a lot. I know him very well.
Yeah, and so I was going to actually hire him like as a pickleball coach, but now we have this sheltering and we're not even allowed to play doubles. Our community just said now we can play singles, but no doubles. So I'm hoping to connect with him. But it's just so funny to meet somebody that actually was in your class and that's also a presenter there. So let's see. There's a question from Colleen. Since you have a home in the United States, how do you split your time?
That's a good question. So I spend when we're open, I spend 4 days a week at the ranch, and I work from home here in San Diego on Fridays. So I'm here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'm at the ranch Monday through Thursday. And I stay at the ranch when I'm working because I have programs. I lead hikes at 6 in the morning, and I have programs at least 3 nights at 8 o'clock. So I stay busy that way, and then it's like the best of both worlds for me. The ranch can be a little, if it was my only reality, it'd be hard because when I'm there, I'm recognizable and I'm always working. So I can't tell a guest, hey, this is my day off. I'm not working today. So it's good to have my downtime here, but I'm always connected. Like now that we're in the pandemic, I'm working from home full time, but I feel like I'm even more connected sometimes than I was before.
How long have you worked there, and how did it come to be that you started working there?
I've been there for in September will be 21 years full time at the ranch, and I came to the ranch. I had a weird. I've always done fitness. I started teaching fitness. I always liked dance. I was a DJ in high school, and um, I was into music and dance. And my sister and I had our own DJ, and we had our own nightclub at one point. So I really loved music and dance. And then when I was in college, one of my friends said, if you like to dance so much, why don't you come take this aerobics class with me? So I went and took an aerobics class with him, and I loved it because I was like, wow, I can work out and dance to music. It was back when, like, you choreographed your songs and it was all dance. So I started doing that when I was in college, and then got my undergraduate degree in exercise science and started working in the industry. And then everyone was like, well, what else do you want to do? And everyone always thought, well, you should be a doctor. You should do this. So I went back to school and did pre-med for 2 years, and I got accepted to med school. And then I decided right before I went to med school, it's not what I wanted to do because I had been doing fitness, but I was always working at a club, always at some sort of a fitness club. And during my undergraduate degree, I was the night manager of a really big spa fitness club where I worked, and I was teaching classes. And then when I ended up going back to school and getting my master's in journalism. And at the time that I got my master's in journalism, I was also going through a divorce, and I have a daughter. So it was a trying time for me. And one of my clients told me that she had been to a place called Rancho La Puerta. So I sent my resume and a video of me teaching. And at that time, Phyllis Pilgrim was the director, and she said, oh, come down and teach for a week as a guest instructor. So I came and taught for a week as a guest instructor. And then when I was in grad school, I was doing, during my journalism, my second year of graduate school, I had a lot of papers and things to do. So I could get away for a month at a time, and I'd come teach at the ranch for a month and do my school from the ranch. And then when I graduated, I started working in TV at the CBS news station, and I was just really disillusioned with the news. I was broadcast journalism was my major, and I hated how negative our news is, and how everything, the saying is always, if it bleeds, it leads. And I was having a hard time not being with my daughter all the time because we were divorced. So Phyllis said, why don't you come to the ranch and just teach full time for a year? And so I did. And when you teach, it was great. I didn't have any management responsibilities, and I would teach my classes, and I loved the guests, and I went to all the presentations. I journaled, and I worked on myself. And after I was there for like 2 years, Deborah's like, well, I look in your background and you've had your own club and you've been the director of, I was the fitness director of the Jewish Community Center in Seattle for 3 years during school. And she's like, I need a fitness director. Would you do that? And so that was like 17 years ago. I said yes to that. And then ever since that, it's just kind of like grown for me.
That, and there's some of the things you offer at the ranch, it's not like you can get them anywhere else. Like, for example, Watsu, that's one of the most incredible healing modalities. And it's not like you can find it most places.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we try to offer a variety of things. I mean, Watsu is, I mean, I know that they do have some other spas and at different places, like in your community, you can probably find Watsu practitioners, but we do try to offer a wide array of, especially the holistic stuff. We have cranial sacral, we have Watsu, we have energy medicine, we have Feldenkrais, acupuncture. So we offer a lot of those. We have a chiropractor that comes every week. So we offer those kind of modalities as well as traditional spa treatments.
Let's see. Monica says, how far is the ranch from your home? So you probably have to cross that border every week.
I do cross the border. It takes me an hour door to door. So, I mean, my brother commutes that long every day to go to work in the city where he lives, and he's only 6 miles from his job. So I'm about 45 miles from the ranch here in San Diego. It's a pretty easy drive, and it's a little beautiful windy mountain road to the ranch. And the Tecate is a really tiny little border town, so the crossing is pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not like crossing at TJ, guys. I swear.
No, it's not. We're like 40 miles east of Tijuana in the mountains. So Tecate is kind of a little cute little sleeper town.
Yep. Jennifer says, is this an all-inclusive ranch, and how is the safety being in Mexico?
I'm not sure what that means, all-inclusive, meaning once our guests arrive at the ranch, we have security and it's enclosed, and most guests don't leave the ranch for the whole week that they're there. I mean, some of our guests go into Tecate and try out some of the local restaurants. The ranch is, I mean, you can't guarantee anyone's safety anywhere in the world, that's for sure. And there's some drug related issues, but mostly they're like in Tijuana and other parts of Mexico. But the news kind of the way the news works is they kind of grab the story and they were like, well, there was some drug killings in Mexico, so don't go to Mexico, where Mexico's a huge. It's not like in the United States, if there were like 12 murders in Chicago over the weekend, you wouldn't say 12 murders in Chicago, don't go to the United States. So it's kind of like how you read it. And the ranch has been there for 80 years, and we were like the third largest employer in Tecate for many years, and we have generations of people that work at the ranch. I have one of my employees, his grandma worked at the ranch, then both of his parents worked at the ranch, and now he works at the ranch. So the whole community of Tecate is very supportive of the ranch and tourism. So I think that, and we have, of course, we're gated and we have full-time security. I've never, ever felt unsafe at the ranch. And in fact, my daughter did come live with me when she was 7. And so she kind of grew up at the ranch, and I felt very safe having her at the ranch. So I feel like it's a pretty safe, just like any place. Like in LA, there's parts of LA you probably don't want to go to. And there's parts of Mexico you probably don't want to go to, but the ranch isn't one of those places.
Right. I agree. When I think what she meant by all inclusive is like you pay one fee and then everything's included, I think, except for like your spa treatments, right?
Yeah, spa treatments are add-ons, but everything else is included, like all your meals, all your classes, all the evening programs. I mean, you can, of course, if you choose to have personal training or do private sessions, you would pay extra for those, but it's all inclusive in that respect. Yeah.
That's great. Let's see. Oh, Joy has a question about the food. Is it all organic, and can you accommodate special diets? For example, people maybe that don't eat oil or sugar or salt.
Yes, we have a full-time nutritionist who works. So probably 40% of our incoming guests have special dietary needs. Now we're a modified pescatarian diet, meaning that we have our own organic garden at 6 acres. I know that you've been out to the organic garden. And so we provide anywhere from 40 to 80% of our food from our garden, depending on what time of year it is. And then we try to shop locally for other organic food. We offer fish daily, but mostly it's vegetarian food.
Yeah.
So, and we accommodate, we have a lot of people have certain allergies. There's a gluten, and there's soy allergies, there's egg allergies, there's peanut allergies. So we can accommodate pretty much everything. But our nutritionist, if someone has food concerns before they arrive, our nutritionist will reach out to them via email or phone call and help them navigate. And then our dining room is really great about helping people, and you get a little flag that says what your special needs are. And so when you come to dinner, you take that little flag, you put it on your table, and then the waiters know what your special needs are.
And I've been, like I said, I eat pretty simply and very, maybe what some people might say is in a strict manner. And I've never had a problem because especially breakfast and lunch, they're buffet, and they always have lots of fruit, lots of salad. They have a whole oil-free, gluten-free bar, lots of steamed vegetables. There's always a starch like a grain or a bean. So, I mean, it's not a problem to find the kind of food that you need there.
And I would venture to say that most of our guests are pretty wellness oriented and pretty savvy about those kind of things, that they wouldn't choose to come to the ranch as their vacation, because that's what we're about. It's all eating healthy and fitness. So we're pretty up to speed on all that kind of thing.
Is there any activity or program that you'd like to see that you don't have there yet that you're hopefully going to implement one day?
No, I mean, I'm looking all the time. What's great about the ranch for me is I will try anything once, because every week it's completely different. It's a whole new group of guests each week. So I can try something this week, and if it doesn't work, the next week I just take it off the schedule and don't. But I find that most things literally take about a year to click in. So you try something and all of a sudden it's the most popular class you've ever had, but you've had it for a year. So I I mean, I always joke with people I've been in this industry, I hate to say, 35 years in the fitness industry, and it's it's like a big circle. Everything goes around, comes back around. The whole point is we just need to find ways to keep people moving and having a good time at the same time.
Dina says maybe include a comedy show featuring Chef AJ. I think she's saying that because I literally just performed stand-up on Sunday night. Have you had any comedy shows?
We haven't had stand-up. I would love to have stand-up, but I know that they've kind of shied away from it because most stand-ups can be a little bit raunchy. Not everyone can be. So we'd have to really screen it. But I think, yeah, it would be, I would love to do that. We have improv teachers and classes, which can be very funny. And so we've had some of that kind of thing. Where did you do stand-up, AJ?
Well, believe it or not, I did it at a comedy club in Burbank called Flappers, but we did it online because of the sheltering in place. I'll send it to you. It's kind of good, actually.
Send me the link. I'd love to see it. I know because I watched you on the Tonight Show.
Right. That was a long time ago. Thank you so much. So which is the most popular fitness class? Is it the striptease class with Manuel?
It's so funny. I would say every week has a different personality. So what's super popular one week might not be as popular the next week. I would say for sure, though, right across the board, if you had to go through the averages, sound healing and meditation are our two most popular classes overall in the last 5 years. All the dance classes are super popular too. They tend to be really popular, but like I mentioned, every week we feature a specialty person. So the founder of NIA, which is dance kind of class, the week that she's there, the NIA classes are the most popular classes because people are going to her classes. When I feature someone when we had Baron Baptiste, who's a famous yoga person, then I would say yoga was the most popular class that week because everyone wanted to go see what he was all about. So it just kind of depends from week to week and what the guests want.
Right. The sound healing class, it is my favorite class. You just decompress. But my favorite thing is when somebody actually falls asleep so deep and then they start snoring. It's the funniest thing.
I've had to add assistants to that class, and their job is to go around and gently tap people that are snoring. So. Yeah.
So what's the weather like in Tecate for somebody that is going to make that decision based on weather? I find it's very similar to Los Angeles.
It is. I mean, I'm not really familiar with the Los Angeles weather, but I know that San Diego, whatever the temperature is in San Diego, Tecate will tend to be about 5 degrees warmer. But we still were like, we're in the mountains. We're at 1,700 feet. So 15 to 1,700 feet is our base. So even in the summer when it gets really warm during the day, I mean, there's days it's like, it can be, I would say the hottest time is the last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September. And then you can see temperatures in the 3 digits, like 104, 105. But even then it's dry heat. And at night, because we're high up, it still gets you. I mean, it can have been 100 during the day, and I'll still want to wear a sweater at night because it cools off at night because we're so high.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I live where it's always over 100, so I find the weather very, very pleasant in Tecate. And if you're hot, you've got all those pools. Plus, you have such an extraordinary Aquafit. I mean, you have so many water aerobic classes all day.
And we do have, and they're clearly, we have air conditioning in all the gyms and all the rooms and all that. And that's funny because when I started working there, we didn't have air conditioner. So it was like, turn the fans on, and now there's air conditioner everywhere. I think it's super pleasant. And I went to graduate school in Missoula, Montana. So, I mean, for me, the worst day in Tecate, Mexico is better than the best day in Montana all winter long. So.
What changes have you seen over the last, several years that you've worked there in the ranch?
I think our guests tend to be, they're more knowledgeable, but I think the internet has made people more knowledgeable and they're more aware of everything that's going on. So you have to really be on your toes. And like I mentioned, also people, we're a digital free resort. So meaning that, we don't have internet in the rooms and we don't have TVs in the room. We have internet at certain spots that you can go and check your internet. But I think that people are craving disconnecting, not being engaged in the news and not being obsessed on their phone 24/7. And I think that that's one of the things that people are really looking for. And I think that we've always been that resort, and it's hard to stick to your guns, but we're really trying to stick to our guns with that one, because I think it's really important that people, until you can like disconnect with the outside world and all this stuff going around, you can't really connect with yourself. And the ranch is about having people learn more about themselves and reconnect with who their inner selves are.
Yeah, that's so true. Larry says, do they teach or lead daily yoga classes? I know you have at least 2 every day, don't you?
Yeah, we offer more of a beginner yoga class every day at 10. We offer an advanced yoga class, which is 75 minutes every day at 11. We do offer a restorative yoga class 3 afternoons a week. And now we have the hammock yoga classes. So we offer, and we do I teach a yoga sculpt class, which is a more athletic kind of a yoga class. So we offer a lot. I mean, yoga is one of our biggest offerings there. People love yoga. People try Pilates. At the ranch, we offer Pilates like 3 times a day as well. So there's a lot of those options. Yeah.
What's the most popular meal or food there? Is it the little cookie you get on Friday, or is it the kachuma beans that you get every day?
Friday is because no one's had any sweet, but now our desserts are pretty amazing at dinner every night. Our average meal, if you just eat what we recommend or we give you, is about 1,500 calories a day. So, and then you can add on whatever you like. I think that it depends. I think that probably the most popular dinner is the salmon night. It's definitely my favorite because I eat fish and I love salmon, but I think it just depends on the person. We have some really great vegetarian Mexican evenings, some Mexican food. So I think those are super popular as well. And then, like you mentioned, every Friday someone gets a cookie and it has a chocolate chip on it about that big, which makes everyone super excited.
Yeah, that is something. Wow. So, when I first started coming there, you had vegetables for breakfast and you stopped doing that.
Oh, I get confused about when things stop and start. But I mean, I will tell you that one of the jobs as guest relations, one of my jobs is to read every single guest comment card every week. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm so involved in activities with the guests, and guests know who I am, so they talk to me all the time. So whatever guests, everything you see that happens at the ranch evolves because it's what the guests want. So the changes you see at the ranch is because what the guests have asked for. When I started working at the ranch, for example, 20 some years ago, we had fish once a week. And now we have fish every day. It's either at lunch or at dinner as options because guests requested more fish and they wanted more of those options. So everything you see at the ranch is based on what guests are asking for and what our guests prefer.
But would you ever go so far that if they said, "Hey, we want, fried chicken," I mean, at a certain point, you're going to keep true to that?
No, we're going to stick to the parameters of who we are and what's healthy and what we consider healthy, and it's a modified Mediterranean meal is what we go for. Now we've had a few guests recently that are just raw vegan people, and they have been fine surviving. And my daughter's a vegan, and she comes to the ranch and she does great. She loves it. So.
Larry wants to know how big the ranch is.
Well, the ranch is 4,000 acres is the total. 4,000 acres. We have 60 miles of hiking trails. We have, like I said, 4 swimming pools. We have 3 spas. We have, I believe, 84 guest accommodations, and they're spread out throughout the ranch. We have 11 gyms. We have 6 pickleball courts, 2 tennis courts, basketball court. I mean, a labyrinth. It's a pretty sprawled out place. Yeah.
If I could take anything home from the ranch, I wish you guys would sell your salsa, because every meal, all 3 meals, they have this salsa bar with a pico de gallo, a spicy pico de gallo, a green salsa, actually a red salsa, and then my favorite is like this brown salsa. It's like so good.
Wow, I'm sure you make a pretty good salsa yourself, Joe.
But Chef Reina is the best. Okay, so last question, because I've taken up quite a bit of your time, is where do you enjoy spending your time most, at home or at the ranch? Dina asks.
That's a loaded question, isn't it? There's no right way to answer that. I mean, I feel like I'm blessed because I have a job that I really do enjoy, and I love people, and I love interacting with people. So I get to do that at the ranch. But I do have a different life at home, because at the ranch, I'm the director. I'm kind of like the face, and so I don't ever. It's not like I'm not always wearing that role. So I think it's a perfect balance. So I think that I would miss either if I didn't have them. So I feel super lucky that I get to do both. So I don't think there's an answer to that. I love both aspects of my life.
Great. Thank you so much. Hey guys, make sure you go to rancholapuerta.com and check it out. Even if you can't get there, check out some of the great videos that Barry's doing every single week. You can get on the email list so you can be in part of the live streams and ask questions. As a matter of fact, the guest that Barry just interviewed last week, Dr. Ben Brown, who runs Dr. Jean Ornish's program, is going to be a guest on my show. So please go to rancholapuerta.com. I know we're having some sound distortions now, so I will take this opportunity to thank Barry so much for being here. I hope to see you again soon, Barry, and I hope the ranch opens up even bigger and better than it was before.
Well, thank you so much, AJ. It's so great to see you, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the ranch.
All right, take care. Bye, everybody.